I could probably babble all day about craft, my career history, and my writer friends, but I don't want to bore you. In full disclosure, I also only have a few hours to finish this foreword and upload this book, or the powers that be are going to be very upset with me. Since I don't want to wind up in my own version of a death game on a tropical island, I will end this note here and wish you lots of fun while spending time with Cole. BC. From Outspan Foster. I want to give a shout out to all my gamer buddies. Happy face. Outspan. Chapter 1. The tsunami had come out of nowhere, and Cole knew he was going to die. As it turned out, he was a lot less freaked out, or at least less scared than he would have predicted, staring at his oncoming death. The reality left him feeling much different than he would have imagined. His girlfriend, Holly, was wrapped tightly in his arms, sobbing silently in her final moments. Kitty, his best friend, had dropped the regular dispassionate gaze and gave Cole a nod. It wasn't forgiveness, but something like respect or appreciation. Cole regretted that he had allowed his friend to grow so distant. He should have done more. Nadia prayed something in her native Creole while rubbing her lucky rabbit's foot. Gary, Wayne, lectured his preteen daughter to repent for all her sins in the face of God's judgment. His voice rose and fell in pitch with the wind. Sheriff sat and held his confused wife's hands, his lips pressed to her graying hair. All the people nearby dealt with their incoming mortality in different ways. Death was no longer the distant light in a narrow tunnel. It was here and now, an undeniable fact. Mother Nature was about to sweep them away into nothing but a memory. Cole just couldn't accept it. The product of a lonely childhood and an overactive imagination, he had imagined himself at death's door 1,000 times. He thought a rush of calm would course through him before his light winked out. Maybe his life would flash before his eyes and he'd know peace. Instead, all he could feel was rage. There had to be another way, an escape. He didn't care about how a human body would be decimated by the physics of a 20-story wave. There was always another way. Always. Hell, Cole had spent his entire life fighting ultimatums from his foster parents, teachers, coaches, everyone. Whenever he'd been presented with 2 narrow paths, he'd find a third, even if that meant cutting through the metaphorical jungle and making his own way. This was who he was. Unfortunately, death wasn't an ultimatum. It was an inevitability, and his eyes practically bulged with rage now that he had to stare at it, literally. Just before the tsunami collided into their small hiking group, his oldest friend, Jin Kitty Whale Yamamoto, cast him a faint grin and said, "Game over, bud." Cole replied with his final words, "There's always another way." There was a flash of light, and the blackness swallowed them. Cole blinked. The tsunami was gone. Holly, Nadia, Kitty, Gary, Wayne, and his daughter were all still there. They all stood in the same positions as before. Of course, Kitty was the second to recover from the shock after Cole. They had both always kept a cool head in new situations. Kitty pointed upward, wordlessly. Cole looked up. The sky was gone. It wasn't blue, didn't have small traces of clouds or a sun. Even the darkness of the sudden storm was gone. Instead, a bright orange dome covered the sky and what looked to be the entire island, shifting the color of the flora from a lively verdant to a sickly green. "My pack," whispered Holly, patting her shoulder where the strap had been. Cole's hand went to his own shoulder, and he discovered that the backpack he'd been wearing was gone now, too. In fact, almost the entire group had been wearing a pack of some kind on the hike, but now it looked like they only had the clothes on their backs, and what they'd been wearing on their belts, if anything. Nadia whispered something in Creole. Gary Wayne muttered, "By the Lord Almighty." Suddenly,